What up, everybody? It's Trims by Cartier, and today I'm going to be doing a step-by-step guide on how to do a fade. This is the most basic pattern that you can use. I use this particular pattern all the time. It never fails me. So I'm going to show you guys how I actually do a fade. All right, so let's get to it. So first off, you're going to drape the client with the neck strip and put the cape over the client. And next, what we're going to do is we're going to comb the hair. Basically, what we're doing in this particular process is making sure that we can see any deformities in the head, any bumps, bruises, anything that's going to keep the clippers from moving throughout the hair. And I'm making sure that the scalp is clean and that there's nothing that's going to cause any bleeding or any pain to the client or whatever. And then I'm also looking at how the hair reacts to the hair being combed, because that's important when it comes to cutting the hair. So after that, I'm going to take my clipper close and I'm going to start my guideline. The reason why I'm using the clipper close is because if I were to use my trimmer, it would cause a harsh line that will be difficult to get out later on. So to give myself more leeway and more room, I would just go ahead and start my guideline with the clipper close. This actually helps you to save time as well, because you know that that line is going to be faded out at the end of the day. So I'm just making sure that I'm being uniform and neat all the way around the head. And whatever I do to one side, I'm going to do to the other. And this actually will help me to save time when it comes to the fading process. So just to save time, and since I already have the clipper in my hand, I'm going to put my one guard on and cut the hair down to the desired length. This is actually a one guard, and I'm going to go with the grain. And with the guard, I'm making sure that I'm going with the pattern that the hair grows out of the scalp, which is with the grain. If you cut against the grain, it will make the hair shorter. And if you cut across the grain, it could cause you to leave gashes or light spots in the hair. So you need to make sure whenever you're cutting the hair down that you're going with the grain. Here's another key component. Make sure that your client is always as clean as possible so that you can see what you need to cut, and so that the client can be comfortable while getting their service. So now with my next step, I'm going to take my trimmer and I'm going to bald out right up under where I was with the clipper closed. Now, when you get closer to the area where the clipper was closed, you need to start flicking out. The flick out motion that you use will actually help you to prevent from creating another line. So make sure that you're taking your time in this area. There's no need to rush. And just make sure that you're paying attention to your movements and flicking out at the area where you created that line of demarcation. And you may have to go over areas multiple times to ensure that you got all the hair, because hair grows in different directions on certain clients. So you need to make sure in this particular aspect of the haircut, you need to cut against the grain to get the smoothness that you're looking for at the bottom of the fade. So in this particular part of the video, I'm actually faded in the beard, but I'm going to do a separate video on this particular subject whenever I do another beard, where I can show you guys how to fade this particular part in. But as for now, I'm just going to let you guys watch and see what it is that I'm doing. But in another video, I'm going to explain what it is that I'm actually doing, because I want to focus on the fade. All right, so the next step in my fade, I'm going to open my clipper and I'm going to create a guideline. I'm going to do this all around the head. I'm going to make sure that I cut the hair that needs to be cut and that I'm keeping it as neat as possible. The neater you start, the better your blends will look, and your haircut overall will come out a whole lot better the neater that you are. And also, the neater that you are, the haircut will be more symmetrical, if that makes sense. So whenever you're doing these processes, you need to make sure that you're being as clean and neat as possible so that you can get a better result at the end of the haircut. So here in this particular area right here, I've closed the lever a little bit and I'm starting to fade that line in. Then next, I'm going to close it halfway, move down a little in the fade, and do the same thing. Then I'm going to close the notch again, right before it's closed. And I'm going to go around the head, and then I'm going to close the clipper and make sure that I get the line out as best as possible. the more you close the lever, the more you move down closer to the line, if that makes sense. And what I mean by the line is you're moving down toward the line of demarcation that you created when you had the clipper closed. So the more you open your clipper, you're moving upward. The more you close the clipper, you move downward. I also want to give you guys another key component to being a barber, and this is very important. You guys need to practice using proper ergonomics, okay? And what I mean by ergonomics is you using the proper posture while cutting hair. And you see in this particular video, I am standing in one spot. I'm not moving around the client. I'm utilizing my chair as a tool by spinning it when it needs to be moved. And I'm not slouching or leaning over the client. I'm using proper ergonomics, standing up straight. Because if you don't use proper ergonomics, you're going to wear your body out and you're not going to be able to perform at your maximum potential. So you guys need to look into what is proper ergonomics, because this will be vital to your barber career. And as I'm working in this faded area or whatnot, I'm just making sure that I'm going over the areas and cleaning up. Some people wait until the end of the haircut after they go through this whole process. They'll go back into the haircut and clean up. But for me, to save me time so that I won't have to go back into things, I actually like to do my cleanup work as I go. So now I have my one guard on and it is closed, and I'm going to move up a little bit more into the fade. To have a smoother transition in your fades, whenever you're going against the grain, you need to make sure that you're going in the direction opposite of how the hair grows out of the scalp. This will actually make your fades very smooth. It can be a challenge at the same time, because some individuals' hair will grow in all kind of directions and you're having to maneuver your clippers to cut against the grain. And it is important to pay attention to how the hair grows out of the scalp. So to give that smooth transition, you need to make sure that you're actually going against the grain and cutting the hair and going over those areas multiple times, okay? This will give you a smoother transition and to give you that faded effect that you're actually looking for as the end result to the haircut. So here I have the half guard on and I have the clipper open halfway, and I'm starting to attack that line that I created with the one guard. And like I said before, you need to make sure that you're going against the grain when fading and making sure that you're hitting those areas multiple times, because sometimes with some clients, you can't just do one pass. You have to do multiple passes. And then even after you've made multiple passes, you have to come back and clean up. And that is very important. That will set your fades apart by going the extra mile, doing the extra. It'll give you that more faded look because you're getting the dark spots out, and then the hair looks more flush in your fading. So make sure that you keep that in mind. And take your time. There's no rush. There's no rush. You're the barber giving the service, and you're in control. So at the end of the day, don't allow anything to rush you through your process. Just take your time and do what needs to be done to give you that result that you're looking for. And after I use the half guard, halfway open, I'm going to close it. And there's a line. The line is going to be very faint. So you have to make sure that you pay attention to what you're cutting when you have that particular guard closed, and use the corner of your blade. So in this particular step, this is pretty much like the last step of me fading. And all I'm using is my one guard with the clipper open. And this particular step should have the fade complete to a point where all I have to do is go back and do cleanup work. Now, since I cut the top of the hair with the one guard closed, the one guard open against the grain should fade into the one guard closed. And depending on certain hair types and certain clients, you may have to use your two guard closed to fade in this particular area. Sometimes you may need to look in the mirror to check certain areas, because when you're looking at something head on, you may not see it because either of the lighting or you looking at the particular fade for too long. Sometimes you may have to shift your vision or look at something else or look back at your mirror to see the areas that you need to work on. And here, that was something that I just did. I'm looking back at the mirror to see what areas I need to work on so that I can go back and clean up. And in this particular portion of the video, I'm just going back and cleaning up areas that I see some like dark areas, or I see some lines that are still present in the fade. I'm just going back over those areas, making sure that I try to get those out as best as I can. I also don't ever use the whole blade in this particular part of the haircut. I'm actually using a corner of the blade so that I don't cut too much into anything that is already complete. You don't want to get to a point where you're trying to be a perfectionist, because what'll end up happening is you'll mess something up and then you'll take your haircut somewhere that it wasn't even supposed to be in the first place. So sometimes you have to recognize when it's time to, give it up. So to keep yourself from worsening the haircut or going above and beyond too much, you need to, remind yourself when it is time to quit doing the haircut, because you can mess it up. And this particular clipper that I have right here, it is the Andis Master with the Fat Master. So if you see me moving up in this area, is because I have the Fat Master blade on, and all I'm doing is just cleaning up. All right, so now after I'm done with the fade, I'm gonna go ahead and prep for the lineup. And in the prep for the lineup, I'm using shaving foam, and I'm putting it on the areas that I do want to line up. Okay. This particular part of the service is a key component because it will set you apart from other barbers. This actually helps you as the barber to give a more finished and polished result for the haircut, and it adds value to the haircut because the client will feel more appreciation for the haircut you doing this particular thing, because a lot of barbers do not do this. So this will actually help you to grow your clientele. So after I apply the shaving cream in the areas that I want to line up, I will take a warm towel, a warm steam towel, and let it sit on those areas for a little while, maybe like a minute or two, and then I'll wipe the shaving cream off. This actually helps to clean, exfoliate, and prep the skin for whenever you do the lineups. All right, so next I'm going to use some spritz or a holding spray. This actually helps to hold the hair in place whenever you're going to do your lineup. And the reason why I use this is because in certain cases, with your trimmers vibrating so much and the blades moving at a rapid pace, you would end up moving hair or pushing hair to the side rather than cutting it. So you want to try to use some type of holding spray to hold the hair in place when it's dried, so that the hair doesn't move around while you're trying to cut it. And that will also eliminate you having to cut the areas more than what you intend. So just keep that in mind when you're using holding spray. So majority of the time when I do lineups, I actually start in the middle and I go over to the left. When I have this particular side straight and I'm satisfied with it, I'll go and do the same thing on the right hand side. And the reason why I do this is because if you start from the right and go all the way to the left, it'll be more of a challenge for you to have that line straight due to the angles that you're standing at, and then also the shape of the client's head. And to give a straight line up, it's all about angles. And then here in this particular area, I'm not going straight up and down. When I create that sidebar, I'm actually creating the sidebar at an angle. Because whenever you go up and down in your sidebar, whenever you look at the client head on, it's going to make the client look like they have a rounded lineup versus a straight lineup. So what you want to do is angle your clipper at the sidebar so that when you look at it head on, it looks more like a square rather than being rounded. So whatever I did to the left, that's what I'm going to do to the right to get it to look as symmetrical as possible. Whenever you're lining up, you need to make sure that you're combing your line up to get the hair that is hanging over the line. And see, in this particular area where you see me doing that sidebar, you see I have it at an angle. It's not going straight up and down. It's going at an angle. This will actually help you to accomplish the square look whenever you're doing the lineup. So I normally go over the hairline 2 or 3 times to ensure that the lineup is straight. I always do this because when the client goes home and take a shower and wash their hair, I don't want to send them home with a lineup that's not complete. And that's pretty much it for the particular haircut that I'm presenting to you guys today. I appreciate you guys for sticking around. If you stuck around this long, it means so much to me. I thank y'all for subscribing, liking, viewing, sharing, leaving a comment. I appreciate all that. And until next time, y'all take it easy. I hope that y'all learned something. And I really appreciate y'all. And I'm out.